Ho ho boardies, welcome to Borderline Games. I'm Gareth, and today we're playing 9 Hours, 9 Persons, 9 Doors. And this is episode 22. Last time we got to door number 9 for the second time, and we've realised the four of us being Ace, June, Junpei, and Santa. This is a game with Santa Claus in it. We've realised that in order to get through the final door, we'd have to leave June behind, so we're going to go back and find the rest of the group and see if we can find a couple of teams that's not going to end up with just June back on her own, trapped behind the number 9 door. I hope that made sense. If it didn't, never mind. Okay, so June blinked back tears from her eyes and bit her lip. She didn't seem to know what else to say. Very well, best we head back to C deck then. We should be able to take the elevator we passed earlier. Perhaps Clover, Seven, and Lotus will have returned from door number 1. Even as Ace spoke, they knew finding the others wouldn't improve the situation. But even then, with all 7 of us... Ace knew it. They all knew it. Standing around here isn't going to accomplish anything, don't you agree? Let's find the other 3 first, and then search for another solution. I guess you're right. Alright, let's go. Ace looked at all 3 of them, and then turned and headed toward the door. Yeah. Okay. Santa and June followed. Junpei started toward the door, then stopped. Come to think of it. What is this room? It didn't seem terribly important, but what exactly was it? We were so focused on the doors we didn't even look around. A red carpet ran between 2 columns of wooden benches that ran the length of the room. It looked like it was set up for some kind of ceremony. What kind? Facing the 9 door was the carpet leading to the bow of the ship. And at the end... Was it an altar, perhaps? There was a small rectangular alcove at the end of the carpet, and inside the alcove was a raised platform. Resting on top of the platform was a coffin. A coffin? What on earth is a coffin doing in a place like this? But before Junpei had time to answer that question... Hey, Junpei, what the hell are you doing? Let's move! Santa's voice echoed in from the hall outside. Right, okay, I'll be there. Be right there. Junpei turned on his heel and left the quiet, somber room. So we missed out on the knock-in. They took the elevator up to C deck. Once there, they headed back toward the main hall and the central staircase. It didn't take them long. Look, it's... Seven and Lotus. They didn't look happy. We've got a problem. Clover is gone. What? Junpei and his 3 companions looked at one another. He turned back to Seven and Lotus. What do you mean, gone? Santa, Ace and June had their own questions to ask. When? Why? You 2 went into door 1 with Clover, didn't you? Seven and Lotus responded as best they could. Yeah, we went through the door together. But Clover barely spoke to us. She just did her own thing the whole time. There were 4 rooms on the other side of door 1. She wouldn't let us into the 4th room. She just said, I'll take care of this one. And shut the door. She must have blocked it with something on the other side. We waited for a while, but Clover didn't come out. We called for her, but she didn't answer. So I kicked down the door and we went into the room. But... It was empty. Clover wasn't there. There was a door on the other wall. And it was open. I don't know, I'm all for Team 11. I think they make a great couple. We figured she opened the door and left by herself. We ran after her, of course, but... Well, obviously we didn't find her. You figured that much out. Clover's gone. Junpei thought for a moment. When did this happen? We got here just before you. You certainly have excellent timing. So you haven't searched anywhere other than near the staircase? No, we haven't. Finally, Ace spoke. His voice had an edge of resolve and concern. Very well then. We'd best separate and look for Clover. We haven't much time left. Let's begin. Yeah. There were quick nods all around, and the 6 remaining players spread out. Junpei and June ran to the large hospital room together. As quickly as they could, they searched around and under the beds and in the corners. She's not here. No, she isn't. Alright, just in case, we should go take a look in the shower room. The shower room? That's where her brother is. She might have gone to see him. June bit her lip. She knew as Junpei did that there was only one thing to see in the shower room and it wasn't pleasant. Well, we might as well check, right? Let's go. There was a screwdriver stuck between the door and the frame. Good, we can still get in. We should thank Seven later. Junpei and June slipped through the door, moved down the hall and stepped into the shower room. She's not here. No luck. Yeah, I don't think she's here. June's voice was faint and she placed her hands over her mouth. Her face looked a little green. The smell is horrible. The stench in this room is almost unbearable. It had grown far more unpleasant since their last visit. If Junpei had eaten a lunch, he'd have had a difficulty retaining it. He wanted to leave the room as soon as possible, but he had to be sure. And the only way to be sure was to check the other side of the divider. Let's check the back just to be sure. June offered no resistance and nodded weakly to Junpei as he headed around the divider. He stopped at the corner and turned his head. She's not here. As he'd expected, Clover was nowhere to be seen. The only thing on the other side of the divider was a dead body, lying in a reddish-brown puddle of dry and drying blood. Snake. Just where did your sister go? Junpei whispered to what was once Snake. Snake! He'd asked rhetorically, of course, as there was no way he'd get an answer. He gave a deep sigh. It's such a horrible way to go. The skull's shattered, the left arm's hideously twisted. Huh. Wait. The bright white of the ulna was clearly visible through the veins of the skin and muscle. Bright white? Ulna? Bones. Pieces fell into place. Junpei remembered something Clover had told him in the laboratory. My brother's left arm is, it's not like a normal person's arm. The accident hurt him really bad. Of course. Of course! Why didn't I realize it earlier? Clover had told Junpei that Snake's left arm was prosthetic. The left arm of the corpse behind the divider was quite clearly a real human arm, or at least it had been once. That meant the corpse. Junpei. June's unsure voice at Junpei's suddenly strange behaviour drew his attention back to her. Oh, sorry for making you wait. Let's go. Junpei and June headed back towards the large hospital room. They stepped through the door and out of the shower room. Down the hallway they went, searching for Clover in every corner. They had reached the stairs when Seven appeared, breathless and yelling. Junpei! June! Where were you guys? He looked pale and his face was drawn. Something terrible had happened. Junpei's breath caught in his throat. Did something happen? Oh, did something happen? Seven drew a shaking hand across his face and gulped down a breath of air. Clover is dead. I found her in the first-class bathroom. First-class bathroom? Pant, pant, pant. Pant, pant, pant. All sound ceased for Junpei. The world was an empty, muffled expanse. Then he began to hear his own breathing. June's mouth moved, but he heard nothing. She tried once more, and then her energy was gone, and she collapsed against the wall. He could have helped her, but he hadn't, and now she was dead. So he stood there frozen in place. Clover. Clover. Why? Why did this happen? He forced his body to move. With each step felt like another nail pounded into his heart. Finally, he was in front of her. He knelt and placed 3 fingers against Clover's neck. No pulse. No breath. But she was still warm, and her eyes were closed peacefully. It would have been easy to think she was asleep. Easy, that is, were it not for the slowly expanding puddle of blood beneath her. He traced its source to her back. A gash just beneath her shoulder blade. Was the weapon a knife, perhaps? If it was a knife, the killer had taken it when they left. When he closed his eyes, he saw Clover smile. Clover. Her innocent smile. Her energy. He would never see her smile again. No way. He could have done something. He could have helped her. His stomach twisted itself into a sickening knot. Let's get out of here, June. Junpei lifted a limp June from the floor and carried her from the bathroom. Are you alright? It was a foolish question, and he knew it. Yes, I think so. Her voice was weak. The fever had gone down, but the emotional scars she'd received were not likely to recede as quickly. Junpei laid his hand on her shoulder and they walked back to the bedroom. Let's take this to the bedroom. You should get some rest. Here. The bed. Can you sit? Yes. She nodded once and stared at the floor. There were 4 others in the room. Ace, Lotus, Santa and Seven. They all stared at nothing, their faces drawn and tired. After a while they drifted into the bathroom to see Clover's corpse themselves. Once everyone was back in the bedroom, Junpei walked slowly to the centre of it and looked around as the slumped figures gathered there. Who was the first to find the body? Me. Seven spoke from behind Junpei. He turned around. Seven's hand was up. Why'd you come to this room? To look for Clover, why else? I found her body in the bathroom. Soon as I did, I ran outside. I got to the top of the stairs by the casino and yelled as loud as I could. Hey guys, I found her, but it's bad. She's in the bathroom in the first-class cabin. Come quick. Or something like that. Then I went back to the bathroom. Ace, Santa, and Lotus showed up real soon after that. But I guess you two hadn't heard me or something, 'cause you didn't show. So I took off down the stairs to look for you. After that, I mean, you know the rest, right? Junpei nodded and closed his eyes. There was one more thing he needed to ask. Seven, there's one more thing I'm worried about. What? You stuck one of those plates in between the door and the frame, right? Why'd you do that? Come on, didn't I already tell you that? I did it so that the door wouldn't lock. So we could come back to this room. Oh, you think I did it? Well, I don't know. That kind of depends on what you say, doesn't it? For crying out loud. Huh! Seven sighed and shook his head. Follow me. There were 2 doors standing next to one another. He opened the one on the right. A closet? Yeah. Seven stepped inside. He stood in front of one of the shelves. That filled it and gestured toward a small box. The box was a small metal cube. He looked at Junpei. This is the reason. This safe. We couldn't open it when we were here, getting through this room. I figured there might be something pretty important in it. I couldn't stop thinking about it. I figured eventually we might be able to figure out what the numbers are for the safe. And if we did, I didn't want to screw around with door 5 again. So I put the plate in the exit so we could get back in that way. You get it now? Yeah. Junpei nodded and looked at the safe. He grabbed the handle and shook it. Figured it wouldn't just open. It was as locked as it had been when Seven found it. Huh? There was one change, however. This is... Just underneath the safe was a pile of fine reddish-brown powder. Rust. Junpei stared at it, considering. If there's rust here, that means... Has something opened the safe? Has someone opened the safe? Junpei left the closet. Seven followed him back to the bedroom. It was cold and quiet. No one spoke. They sat frozen in place by shock and grief and fatigue. The room felt tiny and oppressive, and the thick metallic smell of blood filled the room. Junpei turned and headed for the living room. Anything to get out of here. Maybe there's another clue. Anything that might lead us to discover who stabbed Clover. As quickly as they could, they searched around and under the beds and in the corners. His eyes caught on the door. The door that leads to the passageway of door number 5. Behind this door, the 9th man's body is behind there. Maybe I should have another look at it, just in case. Quietly, he pushed open the door. Ugh! The smell hit him like a blow in the face. The hell, the smell is... His lungs contracted, unwilling to inhale such fetid air. Acid boiled up from the base of his stomach, churning what little food was there into a violent froth. Ugh. Ugh. It was too much for him and he vomited. A thin stream of yellow water and bile splattered onto the floor. He wiped his mouth weakly and stared at the dead body. Chunks of torn flesh lay in an arc around the body. What remained of his intestines had slid out onto the floor. The pool of blood that framed it was half dry, but so thick that it had taken on a texture not unlike that of an egg yolk, prepared sunny side up. Gross. On the floor next to the broken mass of the man's head lay his glasses, cracks spidering across the lenses. The bloodstains near them had already dried, like scabs on the floor. Wait. That was when he noticed. It's gone. His bracelet, it's gone. It was right next to the glasses. But now... It was gone. The number 9 bracelet was gone. But why? Had someone taken it? He was turning it over and over in his mind when he heard Seven's voice. Where'd Junpei go? It had drifted out to him from the living room. Junpei walked slowly out of the hallway. Oh, there you are. Were you looking for something in the hallway? Seven looked up as Junpei entered the room. Yeah. Did you find something? He thought for a moment before he responded. No, nothing. Technically, it wasn't a lie. He hadn't found anything in a way. In fact, that was the problem. Something he'd expected to find hadn't been there, the 9th man's bracelet. What's up? Well, I wanted you to take a look at something. What is it? Seven led Junpei back to the bathroom. Clover. As Clover's corpse came into view, he felt his heart flip and then fall to the bottom of his stomach. Something between a sigh and a groan escaped his lips. What was it you wanted to show me? His voice was hollow and empty. I searched Clover's body again. A real shame. She was stabbed once in the back, probably by a knife or something. And I found this. As he spoke, he moved around Clover's head, then knelt down and flipped over her right hand. What? She was holding a piece of paper. I haven't actually looked at it yet. Didn't want to disturb the crime scene, you know, basic stuff. Well, I did borrow one thing. He wasn't sure what that meant, but it likely didn't matter. The paper was more important. I'm opening it. He picked it up and carefully opened it. There were 2 sentences written on it. Truth had gone, and truth had gone. Ah, now truth is asleep in the darkness of the sinister hand. What is this? Some kind of secret code? Seven peered over Junpei's shoulder at the note. Junpei stepped away from Clover's body and into the living room. He began to pace, attempting to decode the note. A code. The first clue was likely the phrase sinister hand. Sinister hand means... does it mean the right hand? Or does it mean the left hand? Should we save here? Sinister hand. Makes me think the left hand. Because wasn't left-handed people thought to be like devil worshippers or something at one point? Ah, okay. Sinister was a term used in heraldry that meant to the left of the bearer of the coat of arms. The left hand. The left hand. What does the left hand mean? Junpei looked at his own left arm. At the bracelet on his wrist. Does the darkness of the sinister hand have something to do with the bracelet? He examined the bracelet closely. There's 2 things sticking out on either side of the face. The left and right sides of the face. Left and right. Left and right. Right and left. The truth is gone. The truth had gone. Truth had gone and truth had gone. And now truth is asleep in the darkness of the sinister hand. Truth gone. Truth gone. Maybe those 2 words. How about switching the sentence around? What else could gone and truth mean? How about reading them backwards? Truth gone. Switching the sentence around. What else could gone and truth mean? Maybe there's something about how they sound out loud. Truth gone. Nope. It sounded the same in my head. Time for a different idea. Gone and truth mean. What else could gone and truth mean? Truth, of course, means something that's correct, something that's fact. In other words, something that is right. You could have safely assumed that gone meant left. After all, after someone left, they were gone. But in this case, they clearly refer to the directional homonyms. Then truth is equal to right, gone is equal to left. Junpei looked at the bracelet again. The left and right of the bracelet. These 2 things sticking out. So if I press them in the following order... Uh-oh. So, truth had gone. Does it say it in my file? No. Nope. Truth had gone. This, right? Boom. And then... one after another, 8 numbers flashed on, then off of the face of Junpei's bracelet. Wait, did it just... He checked one more time to be sure. 1, 4, 3, 8, 3, 4, 2, 1. 1, 4, 3, 8, 3, 4, 2, 1. Huh. Hey, what are those numbers? Junpei didn't answer. He couldn't answer. He had no idea what they were either. Besides, he was sure he would forget the numbers and the order they came in if he said anything. 1, 4, 3, 8, 3, 4, 2, 1. Muttering the numbers to himself over and over, Junpei headed towards the bedroom. 1, 4, 3, 8, 3, 4, 2, 1. 1, 4, 3, 8, 3, 4, 2, 1. 1, 4, 3, 8, 3, 4, 2, 1. 1, 4, 3, 8, 3, 4, 2, 1. Before long, he found himself in the front of the safe again. Its lock was the only one device he could think of that required a sequence of numbers such as the ones he'd just discovered. Besides, someone had opened the safe at least once already. Had Clover come to the bedroom to open it? Junpei slowly dialed in the numbers in the bracelet had given him. 1 to the right, 4 to the left, and... finished. Didn't work. Bingo, I knew it was for this. A small telltale sound of a lock opening. He grabbed the handle, took a deep breath, and pulled it up. Is this some sort of note? Inside was a piece of paper. It was roughly the same size as the one Clover had been holding. Let's see. Junpei picked it up. This is what it said. Fact number 1. The Nonary game was played once before 9 years ago. Fact number 2. The person with the number 2 bracelet attended the game 9 years ago. Fact number 3. It was planned by the following 4 people. Cradle Pharmaceuticals CEO. Gintaro Hongo. Cradle Pharmacist Chief of Staff. Nagisi Nagisaki. Cradle Pharmaceuticals R&D Supervisor. Teruaki Kubota. Majority shareholder in Cradle Pharmaceuticals. Kagachika. Moso Shidou. I must punish them. For the innocent lives they sacrificed. This is the only warning they will receive. That innocent souls might be saved. I now state the truth. 0. Junpei left the closet. There were 5 people waiting for him in the bedroom. Ace, Lotus, Santa, 7, and June. He looked at each one of them in turn, then slowly placed his hands in his pockets of his vest. Sorry, but do you think you could all come with me? Come with you? I want all of you to go to this big hospital room. Why? There's something I want to be sure of. What do you want to be sure of? I want to know if the person I suspect is really the culprit. Wait, then you're saying... Yeah, I think I've got it figured out. I know who killed Snake and Clover. The atmosphere in the room changed. Grief was suddenly gone, replaced by a tension like a strap of leather stretched to its limit. 5 sets of eyes stared at Junpei. He pretended not to notice. Anyway, if you could all please move to the big hospital room. I'll explain everything as soon as we get there. Then, almost as if on cue, the bell began to ring. They all heard it. It was the bell from the clock in the main staircase. The bell rang 5 times, then ceased. It's 5 o'clock. We've only got an hour left. We don't have a lot of time left, let's go. Slowly, one by one, they followed Junpei out of the bedroom. Actually, before we get started, I was hoping you could do something for me. Junpei stopped in front of door number 3 and turned around. Ace, 7, Lotus, could you please place your palms on the red? Huh? Why? If we need to get to the shower room, why don't we just... No, we're not going inside. Once you've authenticated, step away from the door. Why? Please, just do it. Or perhaps you don't want to know who killed Snake and Clover. Junpei's implication was clear and Seven understood perfectly. Fine. What about you, Ace? Lotus? Very well. Sure. Quickly they pressed their palms onto the red. Once they had finished, they stepped away from the door as Junpei had instructed. 3 asterisks shone from the red's display panel. I have this idea. I don't think this device responds to a hand placement on it. It instead reacts to a bracelet being brought close. You don't actually need a hand. Junpei approached it and held his bracelet over the scanner. He made quite sure he didn't place his palm on it, and instead only brought his bracelet next to it. The 4th asterisk appeared. I knew it. Just as Junpei had expected, it was possible to authenticate without placing one's hand on the red, so long as the bracelet was brought near it. Junpei pulled the lever down. Door 3 opened like a hungry mouth. 9 long seconds passed. And the door shut, unfed. Junpei walked slowly back to the others, who were waiting some distance from the door, talking to one another. Santa and June had joined them as well. This is going to have something to do with what Snake thought he could hear in the first-class cabin. It looked as though they hadn't found a chance to break into the conversation yet. As Junpei approached, they turned to look at him, curiosity playing on their faces. Before long, the other 3 did as well. What was that about? How should I know? Clearly, they were all expecting some answers. Thanks, I appreciate your cooperation. Clearly, they'd hoped for something more forthcoming. He continued. By the way, Ace, would you mind if I asked you something? What is it? Do you know who I am? What kind of question? Just answer it, please. Who am I? You're Junpei, of course. Who else would you be? Unfortunately, that's the wrong answer. Actually, I'm Santa. What? Ace's voice was full of surprise, but it was also tinged with confusion and fear. Everyone else looked nearly as surprised. Santa looked especially shocked to discover he was actually someone else. If he spoke, however, the trap would be exposed. Junpei quickly continued. The clothes I'm wearing I borrowed from Junpei. What? And the clothes he's wearing are mine. We had a little swap. That's ridiculous, impossible. So you're saying I'm not Santa? Of course you aren't. Why? What makes you so sure I'm not Santa? If you were Santa, then door 3 wouldn't have opened for us just now. 1 plus 7 plus 8 plus 3, 19. Right, so because he's got this face thing. 1 plus 9 would be 10. The digital route would be 1. But the 4 of us just opened door 3. You can't possibly be Santa. Your bracelet number isn't 3. It's 5, right? Only then, when it was too late, did Ace realize his mistake. He set his jaw and glared at Junpei. You're exactly right, my bracelet number is 5. As he spoke, Junpei lifted his wrist up to show everyone the bright red 5 on his wrist. Sorry, Ace, I tricked you. Of course I'm not really Santa, I'm Junpei. Who could possibly think I was? It's obvious I'm not. To think I was. Ridiculous. But I guess you couldn't see just how obvious it was. I asked you before, didn't I? What makes you so sure I'm not Santa? And you answered. If you were Santa, then door 3 wouldn't have opened for us just now. Most people wouldn't say something like that. The first thing that would come into anyone else's mind wouldn't be the bracelet number. There'd only be one thing they'd say. One sentence. You don't have his face. Ace, you have prosopagnosia, am I right? Junpei's voice was quiet and calm. He knew the truth. So did Ace. Prosopagnosia? The others looked confused. What's that? No clue. Prosopagnosia is... He heard Lotus begin to explain it to them. Ace glanced at them, then turned back toward Junpei and sighed. Very well, I confess. I have prosopagnosia. I cannot differentiate human faces. Is that what this is about? You want to mock me for my disorder? No, not at all. I'm not making fun of you at all. In fact, I feel kind of bad for you. No, the reason I brought this up is that there's an excellent chance the person who killed Snake has prosopagnosia. Ace's face tightened, his eyes narrowed. What do you mean? Junpei leaned casually against the iron piping of one of the beds. I'll just come right out with it. I think it was you, Ace. You killed him. Junpei was suddenly very aware of 5 pairs of eyes on him. He had their undivided attention now. The room had grown very quiet. Junpei took a deep breath. That's ridiculous. What possible evidence do you? I have 3 pieces of evidence. The first, think back to a few hours ago. You made us argue over the 3 doors here in the big hospital room. There was no way all 7 people could go through them. Lotus suggested that we sacrifice one of us. Lotus looked away awkwardly. Junpei glanced at her and continued. Then you, Ace, said, I'll stay here. Why would you say something like that? It's pretty simple, really. You didn't want us to see the dead body in the shower room. You see, if Ace stayed behind, there were only 2 doors the rest of us could go through. Doors 7 and 8. There was no way we could get through door 3, the shower room. You knew that, didn't you, Ace? That's why you volunteered to stay behind. Come on now, I think that's going a bit far. I can understand if you're jealous of my bravery, but... Please don't devalue my actions. I only wanted to save the rest of you. Surely you can understand my altruism. Altruism, huh? Junpei stared off into the darkness at something very interesting and lazily began to dig a persistent bit of wax out of his ear. Gross. You already knew, didn't you? You knew that whichever doors we took, eventually we'd end up back in the big hospital room. What on earth are you saying? Of course I didn't know that. How could I have? Really? Yes. Yes! Pleading was not something they'd heard from Ace before. Huh. Junpei pulled the piece of wax from his ear, glanced at it, and flicked it off into the darkness. Oh, well, that's so cool. I've still got 2 more pieces of evidence that say you're the killer. The second is that, as I said earlier, you have prosopagnosia. Then you mean to imply that a person who can't distinguish human faces must be a bad person? Junpei, they call that prejudice. No, I'm not that stupid. Then why? Well, before I explain, I suppose there's something I should tell you. The corpse in the shower room, it's not Snake's. What? What? Ace's face went pale. The others looked confused as well, as if the body wasn't Snake's. I didn't put it together right away, but there was something Clover told me. She said that Snake's left arm was prosthetic. He lost his real arm in an accident. Or the body we saw in the shower room. Let's call him Guy X. Guy X's left arm was definitely flesh and blood. In other words, Guy X couldn't possibly have been Snake. Oh god, no, that's impossible. Ace had started muttering deliriously to himself, shaking his head back and forth. Junpei was long past caring. Let's say, hypothetically, that the killer didn't have prosopagnosia. If that were the case, he would immediately realise that Guy X wasn't Snake. Even if the clothes were the same as Snake's, their faces would be completely different. It had been obvious that they were different people. And yet, they still killed him. Why? Why would they kill a stranger who'd only just shown up? On the other hand, if the killer did have prosopagnosia, it makes sense. They thought Guy X was Snake and killed him. Wait just a moment. Let's say you're right and I mistook Guy X for Snake. Even if I did, I'd have no motive to kill him. Why would I want to kill Snake? I can think of at least two motives. One, Snake knew about your past. If he ever revealed what he knew, that would have been really bad for you. You really didn't want that to happen. So to make sure Snake's mouth stayed shut, you killed him. 2. Snake had a grudge against you. You knew that, or at least you could have easily assumed he did. Even without exposing your identity, he was a threat to you. You never knew when you might be attacked. You couldn't ever let your guard down. Every moment was a moment he might try something. You didn't want that kind of danger hanging over you, so you... Hey, hold on a minute. For the first time since the beginning of Junpei's explanation, someone besides Ace spoke. What's the past that Ace wouldn't want us to know? Why did Snake have a grudge against him? Look at this. These butt cheeks. He handed Santa a small piece of paper. What's this piece of paper? Santa squinted at the paper and began to read. The nonary game was played once before 9 years ago. The person with the number 2 bracelet attended the game 9 years ago. It was planned by the following 4 people. What is this? Slowly Santa looked up from the paper. His eyes met Junpei's. It's the message from Zero. It was in the safe in the first class cabin. Then suddenly... Give me a break. Ace's face was red and shaken and his voice was full of fury tinged with desperation. That paper is a lie. Someone is trying to frame me. Me. You said me, right? Junpei's eyes narrowed and the trap began to close. Oops. Ace inhaled sharply. His eyes flicked off of Junpei to something, anything else. Wouldn't that mean you're admitting that you're Honguru, CEO of Cradle Pharmaceuticals? Or am I mistaken? It was as though a switch had been flipped. The colour drained from Ace's face, and as he realised what he'd done, his eyes went wide. Very well, I admit that much. I am certain the CEO of Cradle Pharmaceuticals. I am certainly the CEO of Cradle Pharmaceuticals, Gentaro Honguru. Wow, okay, well I guess we're going to end on that bombshell. And next time on Borderline Games, we're going to probably see the end of 9 Hours, 9 Persons, 9 Doors. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye!